Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. What's going on, everybody? New studio. Who dis?
You way over there, man.
We sat next to each other for the last year or so, and now, Blaine, you look so far away from me right now. I can't even see you over there. I don't think your mic is on. We've had our first glitch. 99 problems.
There
and
we
a
go.
glitch was one.
You way over there.
There you go. What's going on?
Oh, man. Dang, man. This is, woo. Nicey nice, man. The big nice threads here, man. This is pretty cool. Now I got a computer.
What are you going to do?
Oh,
Compute.
I know. And I got all these extra duties, man.
Staff.
I might have to do the phones now, man, to help you out, man, so I can, carry my weight, man.
Oh, man. You can compute. You can be our crack research staff if you've been listening to The Zone all day. And if you.
Oh, we in a 5-star hotel now.
This is really, really nice. Here's the most confusing thing. So in the past, we had screens in front of us, and all they had, they sort of blinked on and off, and they would give us an idea of what the Zone TV chat was. It was the response in the Zone TV chat. So now that's gone. But right in front of me is everything that Robert or Lucas or Joe Honk or any of our Jonathan Schaefer, any of our fantastic producers see. And I can already tell you, this is like me watching lights blink really fast. I'm going to have to throw a sheet over this or something.
What happened? Did he just do that?
He's doing stuff right now.
Oh, okay. He's making the screen all go crazy. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, you can see everything. I can't even lie to you guys anymore. I can't tell you what lives are coming up. I can't tell you you got to do a read for this. You guys can see it all in front of you.
Man,
I'm struggling here.
Man, we're in the new studio. Man, I wanted to call it New Studio Day, but actually today is Delanie Walker Day.
Yeah.
Man, he retired today. Awesome player, Titan legend for sure. And statistically, as a tight end, the best in their history, right? I know Frank in the Mute City Miracle, my former teammate, I'm always think he's number one, but Delanie Walker, he's one of the few guys that I would have said, hey, man, that guy could play with us. I mean, he was hard-nosed, tough, just, knowing his career and how, he was a backup, late-round guy to eventually getting his shot and arguably, if not number one up the top, best free agent signing in Titans history. So it was kind of converted fullback, H-back guy who became a tight end and had a tremendous career. And it'll be interesting to see where his numbers all play out with 14 years in a career, with his career kind of being slow in the beginning, the first 2 or 3 years, by not playing a lot, at least as far as tight end. So, but what a heck of a player, great guy, and, Titans legend for sure. Congratulations.
There were
Delanie Walker Day.
Gosh, it's funny you say that. Anytime, I'm sure this happens to you more than it does to me because you actually are a Titan. But when I go places, people always want to talk about, what do you think about this? What do you think about that guy? Yeah. And anytime free agency came up, people would say, who do you think's the best free agent they've ever had? I never hesitated. I always said Delanie or possibly Kyle Vanden Bosch because he was also a free agent.
I can't forget Nate Washington was pretty good, too.
He got
all 6 years of the years they signed it.
Yeah, he sure did.
Yeah, Kyle Vanden Bosch definitely belongs on that list. But Delanie, because of the injuries and the longevity.
Yeah. 7 years as a Titan.
Yeah, that gives him, to me, the edge. How long? I know Nate was 6. How long was Vanden Bosch? Was he just like 3 or 4?
I'd have to look, but yes, I'd say 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Probably so. And he'd had all these knee problems and came here, and, his knees seemed to work fine while he was here. Delanie Walker, you mentioned his time here. This is all from the Titans press release.
Drew Bennett, yeah.
He finished with Drew Bennett, undrafted free agent.
Dude. Man, we got our sign right there, Blaine and Mickey, with your guitar.
I know, and your sword.
No.
And Buck Rising.
I know I cut it to you. I got excited when I saw that.
That's okay. We got all of our logos again. We're in a new studio.
I was really surprised that ours was up there.
All of this is new to us, so we're seeing it as you're hearing about it.
But they also brought home some of your stuff from home, which I appreciate you putting in our new studio. I know the other show's gonna have to get used to it, but you brought your own guitar and put it on the ceiling up here. Yeah, so we'll send out a picture so everybody can see, how big your house is because of this big guitar, above us, looking down on us. Because you said we have to have some kind of music feel, just like we do in our logo. Mm-hmm. You said you must have a guitar in here, or we weren't moving in here. So
right,
I said,
100%.
Hey, I'm with Mickey, man. That's my partner in crime. We got to go then.
And
If not, we won't show up.
if I'd made a demand like that, I would be on the street right now. I would not be working anymore.
No. It was a wink, nod to Mr. Mason, man. I mean, there. Yeah.
Delanie Walker, first 7 seasons with the 49ers. Then he signed with the Titans and spent the final 7 years of his career in Tennessee. 14-year career, 504 receptions, 5,888 yards, 36 touchdowns. He played 183 games. During his Titans career, he was a 3-time Pro Bowler, 15, 16, and 17. He was a 4-time captain. He was twice named the Titans Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year nominee. He is second all-time on the franchise list of receptions by tight end with 381. Listen to this. Over a 5-year period from 2013 to 2017, think about who else was playing. No NFL tight end had more receptions than Delanie Walker.
Yeah, well, he was the number one threat on the team, even through good times and bad times. And everybody knew he was getting the ball, and they couldn't stop him. So that's and that's what's so bad. I mean, you say, well, dang, they know he's getting the ball, and they still couldn't stop him. So tip to the cap to the legendary Delanie Walker, man. Yeah, and he's definitely probably just because of stats. It pains me to say it because I'm always have Frank number one, but statistically, he was number one. In a different era where he got the ball a lot more, but he's number one statistic. You can't deny it. And was a great player. And was tough. That's what I love. He was, guess what? Titan tough. Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm.
He played on some bad teams. Mm-hmm. It's funny when you look back at the history of the Titans. He was an offensive player and caught a lot of passes, so a lot of people have this great idea of how great Delanie was, and that's being celebrated today. Mm-hmm. Jarrell Casey also played great on some Titans defenses on really bad teams. And then the other guy from that era is Brett Kern, who was part of multiple eras.
He's part of all the
because he played so long. He played for every coach the Titans ever had. Brett Kern did that.
Man, that is incredible.
But there were a few years there where it was lean years, but you knew what you were getting from Delanie, you knew what you were getting from Jarrell, and you knew what you were getting from Brett Kern.
All great guys, great leaders, and phenomenal players. So they checked the box on all those things. So man, that was. There was some other guys, too, with them, McCourty, too. I mean, I remember we brought in free agents, Thornton. I mean, it was just some quality guys who were really tough in a different era with the CJ, 2K, and the Bullocks and all those guys. Yeah, man, this is a celebration, tip the cap to Titan legend, Titan great, yeah. And as well as I think he's going to be the 12th man on Sunday, as well as a former Oiler, Dan Pastorini, as I understand it. That's what someone told me. So if they told me wrong, then that's my bad.
No, I think you're right about that. Mm-hmm. And you know me, big history guy. So anytime Dan Pastorini
tell me a little bit
shows
about
up.
I don't know if anybody wants to know, but, the young kids are listening like who he is because he was a quarterback.
Dan Pastorini was essentially the quarterback for the Earl Campbell, like the classic Love You Blue Oilers.
So this
years.
is when you started falling in love with the Oilers?
I did.
Who was the starting quarterback?
Dan Pastorini. Yeah, okay. Oh my gosh. And he was, if I'm not mistaken, I think he also punted a little bit in his career early on, but was a really great quarterback for the Oilers for an era of the team that I'm glad people here are getting to experience. Because you played in Houston. You were a Houston Oiler.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a Houston Texan, they don't have any ties to the Oilers. The Oilers' ties are here. So I always worry that some of your teammates, because you got to be a Titan, but I worry about all these Oilers guys that they get forgotten.
Right. Well, no doubt about it. And they're out there in limbo and where to be a part of. Are they part of the Texans? Are they part of the Titans? No, I get it. So this weekend will be, Love You Blue as well as, Titans, mania here for the weekend for alumni weekend. So the Oilers will be here as well as the Titans. So I'm glad that's kind of settled because this is the organization that was the Oilers and they kept their history with them. And that's why the history has to stay with the organization. Some of the Oilers will be here this weekend. So myself included will get to meet a lot of Oilers that I never met, naturally, because I was only there 3 years. So I know some of the guys at the end, which, I got to play, which is, great for me. Some legendary players in Warren Moon and Webster Slaughter, guys I was watching on TV when I was in high school. So it was pretty cool. And then defensively, we had some great players there. My rookie year, I couldn't even touch the field with the William Fuller and Sean Jones and Ray Childers, some legendary names in their history. And some of them arguably should be mentioned in the Hall of Fame conversation. And if you look at their numbers, you would say, oh, I know. Yeah, they should be. Let alone I was Chris Dishman, the legendary guy who taught me a lot of things that I learned throughout my time. Bubba McDowell, who is now Prairie View's head football coach. So we had some, we had some great players. And then Mark Robb, my partner in crime, he was there. He was killing it. I wish people could have got to see Marcus Robinson play in his prime because he was probably the most dominant ball hawking safety in the National Football League in my rookie year. And it was pretty phenomenal to watch every single game he was making plays. So, so I learned a lot from a lot of those guys throughout my time. It helped me mature into the player because I was out there playing with them eventually, and they basically really scared me into playing into the way I became when I became the hitman, because the hitman was aggressive, but he wasn't trying to knock people out until I got out there with them. As well as Al Smith, too, who was our middle linebacker, and I came in with Michael Barrow and Lamar Latham. There were some really phenomenal players. Lorenzo White was the running back, and Gary Brown, the late Gary Brown, who passed away this past couple years ago. It was some great players, man. Wow. I mean, I even got a little bit of Bucky Richardson. Remember him?
Yes.
Yeah, he was the backup quarterback.
Texas A&M, right? He was hard-nosed guy, would go out and run into people and linebackers.
And Haywood Jefferson, Ernest Givens. Yeah, and Ernest Givens with his shake. Yeah, when he scored that touchdown. I was like, oh, man, how can I do that?
All right, here's you a Dan Pastorini stat, because I know we got to take
that was after him.
Dan Pastorini was the starting quarterback for the Oilers and the starting punter for his first 6 years.
Oh, wow.
From 71 to 76, he started at quarterback, and he was the punter.
What years?
71 to 76, he was the punter and the quarterback. After that, he was just the quarterback for like the next 5 years. He went to the Raiders later in his career and broke his leg, and that kind of paved the way for Jim Plunkett to go on and become a Raiders legend. Jim Plunkett was going to back up Dan Pastorini.
Oh, so that if we had him on, we would ask him that. So do you understand that you helped,
launch the career of Jim Plunkett, relaunch, because Jim Plunkett had washed out. He'd been a Heisman Trophy winner. Got drafted by the Patriots.
Yeah.
And then played for the 49ers. Anyway, I could do this all day.
Yeah, you're a historian of the game, especially of the Oilers. So I'm sure you're going to be on a skyrocketing high of Oilers stuff this weekend. I got to watch you, man, when we're down on the field there this weekend.
You know, my guy, though, is Billy Whiteshoes.
Oh,
so I'm always on the lookout for Billy Whiteshoes.
Yeah. So Pastorini, was he with Renfro? Is that the receiver I'm talking
He
about?
was, yep.
Okay. Trying to think of the big-time receivers. I wasn't a...
Renfro was 82.
Right, I remember he was 82.
Kenny Burrow was 00, who's
I remember seeing
for the
that
longest time was the leading everything receiver for the Oilers franchise.
Oh, okay.
Or 00, which looked fantastic.
That was
Kenny
awesome.
Burrow was a longtime Oiler, was a fantastic football player as well. Billy Whiteshoes Johnson, who was receiver.
I think all I remember, because I was a running back, growing up, so that was when I was in my younger years. So all I remember is tell me if I'm wrong, Rob Carpenter.
Yeah.
Casper, a tight end. Did he play with the Oilers, or was he with the...
He was with the Raiders, but finished with the Oilers.
Okay, that's when I started watching them. Yeah.
Kenny Stabler was even an Oiler in the early 80s.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
Archie Manning was an Oiler in the early 80s.
Yeah.
Again, you don't do this.
Don't start,
I'll
right?
never stop. Don't.
Who was the other running back? Besides Earl Campbell, who was
a guy named Ronnie Coleman, who was a good running back.
You know who I'm thinking of? Because I used to watch All Notre Dame being in Indiana. Alan Pinkett.
Mm-hmm.
And and they had Butch Woodfolk.
Yeah.
Remember him?
I do.
I think he was with the
Michigan.
Giants.
Michigan guy.
So I watched a lot of Big Ten games, so I kind of followed those in Notre Dame, naturally being in the Midwest in Indiana. So I kind of followed those guys. Yeah, so that was kind of cool.
There you go.
That was legendary.
There's your memory minute there on Blaine and Mickey as we talked about 70s and 80s NFL.
We should have people call in then and tell us a memory while we're still going during the show after the break of Delanie Walker. Any memory, whether you just ran into him at the store, your favorite play of him, or anything about Delanie Walker, because today is all day, with at least the Blaine and Mickey show is going to be the Delanie Walker's day.
Yes, sir.
For sure. He deserves that, and what a phenomenal guy.
So we can take those calls at 1:45. When we come back, Nate Rao, who's been the guy who's been breaking all these stories about the Titans Stadium. Let's learn more about that. Nate Rao from Axios joins us next. Let's get the lowdown on everything with this new gigantic indoor everything, all the bells and whistles stadium the Titans are planning to build on the east bank of the Cumberland River.
Ooh.
Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. Thanks for hanging out with us today and every day, all day, right here on The Zone. We appreciate it. If you were anywhere around Music City yesterday, you saw the Titans in the city of Nashville announced a financing deal they had reached for a new stadium. Mayor Cooper and the Titans held a press conference discussing an estimated $2.1 billion domed stadium with a target date beginning in the 2026 season. Now, if you followed Nate Rao on Twitter, you would have known that all that was coming ahead of time because nobody has covered this dang story like Nate Rao, who joins us now. Nate, how in the world are you doing, man?
Uh-oh, we can't hear him.
Oh, let me get him.
Are you there, Nate? Nate +8.
We got you, Nate.
Nate
Oh, now I think I hit the button enough times. I got him. Hello, Nate. We got you.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Doing well.
Man,
Sorry, we got a
good.
new studio. I'm learning where all the buttons are here. We didn't mean
Okay, I
to.
was worried it was me.
No, we didn't mean to
was
false
it?
alarm you there.
Yeah, it was you, Nate. It was you. It was your fault, man. Don't worry about it.
So what is left to do in this deal? So people have heard from Burke Nihill and the mayor, and I'm sure their friends and neighbors are talking about this. What is left to do before Titans fans can unequivocally say we're getting a new stadium?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's going to be the details of the financing plan that was unveiled yesterday will be vetted by the Metro Council, and there will be legislation for them to, consider and vote on, and council approving this is what it would take to be a done deal.
Do you know how much potential friction there might be, or, is there somebody on the council, or is there somebody who says, hey, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to fight this to the bitter end? What do you know about the remaining opposition there might be?
Mm-hmm. Well, anytime you have $2 billion, including 1.26 of taxpayer money, there's going to be, I don't know if opposition is the right word, but there's going to be intense scrutiny on it. And that'll be the case for this too. There are a few council members that have, very serious and I think earnest questions about how does the money add up? What is the taxpayer risk? Is this the wisest use of taxpayer money? And so they'll have questions like that. And I don't know how much you want me to go into the weeds, but one of the biggest questions is, does the liability of staying at Nissan for the duration of the lease through 2039, is that more than what it would cost to build a new stadium, or how do you balance that liability versus what you're going to be investing in the new stadium? So there's major questions to be answered. My take as someone who's covered city politics back through the financing for Music City Center and the Sound Stadium and the Nashville SC Stadium is these deals typically do get approved. The deck is kind of stacked in favor of the interests that want big projects to go through in Nashville. Plus, I think that there's legitimate selling points for why it's a good deal.
Nate Rao, our guest, he is at TN Nate Rao on Twitter, Axios Nashville reporter. Again, he has been all over this for as long as this has been a story. You got to follow him.
Oh, no doubt about it. He's been in it from the beginning. I guess, I want you to go in the weeds a little bit and just kind of break everything down, the budget included in all that, and how they came up with that number and how then it affects the taxpayers to a certain extent.
Sure, yeah. So there's kind of what I consider three buckets of money that will go toward this project. The first is $500 million in state bonds that Governor Lee and the legislature approved already. They earmarked it specifically for a domed stadium, so that money wouldn't be there in the scenario of redeveloping Nissan based on how that was structured. The Titans ownership, along with the NFL and including future sales of PSLs, are bringing $840 million to the table, and the last $760 million, if my math is right off the top of my head, is from tax dollars that will be generated, 1% additional tax on all hotel room rentals in Davidson County, and on sales tax generated inside the new building and in the new campus that will go around it. So the idea is, around the new building, they want to do a 130-acre commercial development with bars and hotels and things like that. And sales tax collected at that campus will go toward the debt on the new stadium too.
So you mentioned PSL. How are the PSL holders? What is their future with the old stadium to the new stadium? Is a connection, and then would people want to be part of it after they were part of the PSL holders with the first stadium, and then with the new stadium? I would think I would love to see a survey on what people think about the proposition of doing another one.
Yeah, that's a detail I'm still trying to drill down, Blaine. So that's a good question. The only thing I did see reported yesterday was like the amount you paid for your original PSO would go toward or would defray the cost of the new one. So I know that that's a factor if you are a current PSL holder versus a new one. But I couldn't give you the details today on what it'll cost each person.
Just for the layman person, who actually owns the stadium, the new stadium, if it passes, of course?
The sports authority would be the landlord, just like they are at at Nissan Stadium. And at the end of the terms of paying off the bond, I believe it would revert to the city, and that's one of their sales pitches, is that the city would, at the end of the deal, they would have this multi-billion-dollar asset.
Nate Rao with the Exos Nashville reporter, who's been all over, the proposition of a new stadium for the Tennessee Titans and their ownership group, and the Shrunks and Adams family with the city. Mickey?
So, Nate, what happens with public transit? I know that's been a big thing that's just kind of been hanging over the city. Some people say, this might usher it in, and there'll be more public transit access in this East Bank corridor that they're building. Does this help jumpstart all that? Does this help any of that? Does it hurt traffic? Where are we on that?
Yeah. So part of the vision for redeveloping not just the Titan Stadium, but the broader East Bank, the city's in the middle of that process. And their hope is to create a sort of new transit corridor, a new road that will go north and south kind of through where Nissan is currently, all the way to the new Oracle campus at River North.
Oh.
But it comes with a caveat, right? I think we all know as we sit in traffic that we need more mass transit options in our city. And some of the kinds of revenue sources, not necessarily these specific ones that are going toward the new stadium, those are the kinds of things that other cities tap into, those revenue streams, tourism revenue streams, to have a robust mass transit system. So on one hand, I think the answer is yes, there will be mass transit options around the new stadium. But on the other hand, when you dedicate, there's only so much tax dollars to go around, right? And so what you're spending on a new football stadium is less that could be going to priorities like mass transit. It's not exactly an either or, so I have to add that caveat. This money that was passed by the legislature was earmarked specifically for a stadium, but it's more of like a conceptual question, like what do we want our tourism dollars to be going toward?
Got Nate Rao on with us, Axios Nashville, again covering this Titans new stadium story. Somebody asked me, I was telling Blaine and the guys this, somebody asked me this at church or something several weeks ago. What do you think's going on with the stadium? And I said, honestly, they're probably making progress because no one is talking about it. Nobody's leaking anything out to try to tilt public interest one way or the other. I'll ask you this. You've obviously got contacts. You've been covering this behind the scenes. Was there ever a moment behind the scenes where you thought, man, this is not going to happen? Did it ever get contentious behind the scenes at any point?
I don't think so. I mean, I think that there were some honest disagreements and some honest points of compromise as they got through this. I know on the very first day that the Titans began talking about this, their CEO, Burke Nihill, said, we're committed to Nashville. Unlike other cities where teams want new stadiums, they weren't, banging the drum to move to a new city. That I'd never heard that discussed in public or behind the scenes. So, it wasn't a dirty negotiation in that sense. I think you see that, and obviously there have been some NFL franchises that have relocated. So it was, I would describe it as pretty cordial, and it was really just both sides wanting to get what they thought is the best deal possible.
Nate Rao at TN Nate Rao. You can find him there on Twitter, Axios Nashville reporter.
Well, Nate, I guess I want to hear I guess, comparability to the current deal that they have, and then what is the new deal, the proposed new deal, hopefully for the new stadium, and how the pros and cons of both of them?
Yeah. So that's a big question that hangs over this. I think I was alluding to that a little while ago.
Mm-hmm.
There's an estimate that was released yesterday that says to stay at Nissan and to do just like the necessary maintenance, which anyone that goes into Nissan can see there's some that needs to be done. And then there's part of the lease agreement with the city that says they have to maintain it in a manner that's consistent with other outdoor sports venues.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sort of like an abstract, requirement that hasn't really had to be pondered yet. But the estimate that was released yesterday says to meet both of those things, maintain it and keep it in a condition similar to other world-class venues, is between $1.75 and $1.95 billion. And that's an obligation that the city would be paying out of its general fund, because there are no revenue streams earmarked specifically for that right now that have been approved by council. So do we want to have this large liability? Now I'm telling you what the report said. There's certainly some council members who have cast doubt on how accurate that estimate is, but that's what it says. That's what it will say when the full report's released. So that's part of the mayor's argument and why this is a necessary deal. He calls it an unfunded liability that if they were to fix up Nissan to keep the Titans here, as opposed to having dedicated revenue streams that are paid by tourists, paid by people spending money in and around the building, and that being how you pay for a new building.
Mm. Well, that leads me to this thing. I know non-events kind of go through how it works now and then compared to future events with the new stadium deal, how it sits today. If it all passes, who keeps the money and everything else?
Are you saying the kinds of events they could have at a new stadium?
Yeah, what kind of events, and then how's the share split? Is that, or does it split at all? Yeah.
Yeah. The city is hoping that by being able to, and the state, by being able to have more tourism events, that there would be more tax revenue generated. That would be their share. The Titans would keep, their share just like they do now for whatever revenue is generated at the building. But a chief sales pitch of this idea is you can get a Super Bowl, you can get a Final Four, you can get WrestleMania, you can get college football playoffs. None of those things have ever come here, and there's no facility in Nashville that could accommodate them. So other than Nissan, I do have to say, before the idea of a new building was discussed, folks thought that if they did a massive renovation of Nissan, the Super Bowl was still a possibility. But other than that, none of those other things are events that you could recruit here. So that's why the hospitality industry agreed to a 1% tax increase on their rooms, because they think it'll increase tourism so much more to have events like that. And I would add like wintertime concerts, like the massive arena tours, Beyonce, artists like that can't come here during cold months. They could if we had a dome stadium.
Have there been preliminary talks, of renderings of what the stadium would look like? Or have you heard what they want it to look like and how big and everything else, just for our listeners who didn't read the article?
No, and I think that's one of the details that people will be certainly looking forward to. I know I'm a huge sports fan, so I'm excited to see what the renderings look like. But I think that's one that, other than kind of general preliminary type renderings, that's one of the big questions to be answered as well.
Right, because I was hearing
yesterday it'll seat between 55 and 60,000. Okay. Forgive me if I give you those numbers a little.
No, yeah, you're fine. You're going in and out. Can I hear you, Nate?
Oh, can you hear me? I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay. You said between 55 and 60,000?
I was just saying, I believe the Titans said yesterday it would be a little bit smaller than Nissan in terms of seating. 55 to 60,000, I think, is roughly what it would seat. So that's one detail that is out there.
Yeah, I was hearing that the architect of the SoFi, which one is out on the West Coast, is kind of someone who's probably one of the leading candidates for, doing, let's say, the design and architect of the current stadium. Have you heard anything of that nature at all?
No, you might know more than me on that. That's not something I've
Well,
heard
I
yet,
don't know if
but
it could
yeah,
have
that's
been just
definitely
kind of
another one I want to track down.
Well, that's cool there. But you were talking about fans, man. I gotta talk to you about this Packers fan thing on your Twitter handle, man. Because
Yeah.
how you feeling right now about Aaron Rodgers and those receivers, man? Right now, man, at LaFleur.
I'm not feeling great, except for his track record when people write him off and when their backs seem to be against the wall. I know we all remember the relax and the playoff runs where they had to run the table. So I'm not in panic mode yet.
All right, Nate, on the way out, I'll just ask you a simple question because I know we've got listeners from all over Middle Tennessee, and we have a lot in Davidson County.
Across the world.
You've studied this all across the world, yes, starting right here where we're sitting in Davidson County. Is this a good deal for Nashville and Davidson County, in your opinion?
Yeah, it's too complicated for me to answer that. I understand the mayor's sales pitch yesterday that this is a better than the current option, and I understand folks who say, why is it as a society we can come up with these creative funding sources and revenue streams for football stadiums, but we can't for things like mass transit, affordable housing. So I see both sides, but I do think that there is less of a liability on the city's general fund if they do this as opposed to pursuing something at Nissan.
Nate, thank you, man. We know you're busy. You're getting a ton of requests. It's always great to catch up with you. At TN, Nate Rao, Axios Nashville reporter. People certainly need to be following you who are interested in this because you seem to be one step ahead of everybody on it. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, appreciate it,
Cool.
Cheesehead.
Appreciate you both.
Yes, sir. Nate Rao, noted Packers fan. Nate Rao joining us, always staying on top of this stuff. Appreciate him. All right, when we come back, as Blaine said off the top of the show, it's Delanie Walker Day. Delanie Walker Day in Middle Tennessee. So why not bring in Rhett Bryan with a little magic from Delanie Walker's career and a little bit of talk about number 82 and what he means to the two-tone blue. That's coming up next.
Play fake. Mariota throws back corner of the end zone, man all alone. Touchdown, Titans. Delanie Walker.
Blaine and Mickey, 1045 The Zone. Yeah, money, an appropriate title for Delanie Walker because he was money for this franchise.
Ooh, was he ever?
Boy, was he. Rhett Bryan joins us in the studio. So Rhett comes in, sits down. We start talking about Delanie Walker. Rhett is the executive producer of Titans Radio. If you've been living under a rock, maybe you didn't know that. And so Rhett just offers this up. I'd never thought about it. We're talking about, gosh, he was in San Francisco for a few years. You said he played 99 games for San Francisco before he ever even got here.
Well, and here's what spurred all that. I did some research a couple summers ago about Derrick Henry before he got sidelined with the broken foot a year ago and where his numbers were going. And so what I did is I extrapolated and looked at numbers in the first 5 years of his career versus the greats. And, he and Jim Brown are like the only ones that had like a 5-yard per average carry, in the first 5 years. So what I did with that same kind of thought in mind, I looked at how well Delanie Walker did as a full-time, not just a role player, because he was kind of their Swiss Army knife in San Francisco for 7 seasons, although he did play in 99 football games. But it's like in years 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, he was a beast. I mean, it was ridiculous. So what I did, I took some of the best tight ends in the history of the league and looked at how they did in those 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 years.
Of their career.
Yeah. So Delanie Walker, 60 for 571, 6 touchdowns. That's in his first year with the Titans in 2013. Then 63 for 890 and 4 touchdowns. Then the monster year in 15, 94 catches, 1,088 yards, and 6 scores. And if you're watching on Zone TV, Blaine is bug-eyed right now going, what? And then in 2016, 65 for 807 scores, 74 for 807 and 3 scores in 2017. And, of course, we know he broke the leg in the first part of that 2018 game, week 1, Mike Vrabel's first game as a head coach in Miami that took 14 years to get through.
It just ended, last week?
So, yeah. So I looked at Rob Gronkowski, and obviously he retired for 1 season, but his last 2 years in New England is these last 2 in Tampa. So he had 69 for 1,084 and 8 touchdowns in 2017 in New England. He had 47 for 682 and 3 scores. Then in Tampa, 45 for 623 and 7, and 55 for 802 and 6 more scores. So I mean, there's a couple of the, and God, Tony Gonzalez considered to be the greatest.
That's my right there, yeah.
102 for 1258, 7 scores. 78 for 905, 73 for 900, 99 for 1172, 96 for 1058. But Shannon Sharp is a good comparison. In year 8 with the Broncos, 72 for 1107, 3 scores. Next year in year 9, 64 for 768 and 10 scores. 23 for 224 in a shortened year for injury. But then came back in 2067 for 810. That's a Delanie Walker year with 5 scores.
That's with the Ravens now?
That's with the Ravens. First year with the Ravens. And then in 2001, 73 for 811 and 2 scores. And Jason Witten, Antonio Gates, it's amazing what he did in that window of time. And it should not be, I know you guys have been talking about Delanie, but, first of all, in that locker room and in the organization, he was the bridge to what this culture for the Titans is right now. He deserves a lot of credit for that. And then what he did on the field, holy Moses. I mean, the numbers he put, 4-time team captain, 3-time Pro Bowler, led the team 4 consecutive years in receiving. And you think about some of the games he had. That Cowboys game right here, September the 14th, 2014, he had 10 for 142 and a score, had a 61-yard touchdown in that game. Later that season against Philly, 5 for 155. In 2015, in that overtime win in New Orleans, that was Mike Mularkey's first game as interim head coach. It was his first multi-touchdown game there. The last game of the regular season in 2015 on January the 3rd here against Indy, that was 6 times in the final 7 games. He had 6 or more catches, and that 94 catch, 1,100-yard year, He became the 9th tight end in history in 2016 to have 90 catches in a year. 9th in history. And then that deal opening weekend in Cleveland in 2019 when they had declared themselves the off-season Super Bowl champs, he had 2 touchdowns in that blowout win and called them trash in the locker room when it was done.
I remember that.
But you know what? You can do that when you walk the walk and you talk the talk. But 84 games, 381 receptions, 4,423 yards as a Titan, 29 total touchdowns. Stud.
Yeah, no doubt about it. That's all number 1 in Titans history, correct? With the stats as far as tight end.
Yeah,
Titans,
and by the way, he's in the top 25 right now in receiving yardage in the NFL and tight ends in history. Wow. He's in the top 25.
Okay, so that's what I was going to ask you. You may not know this question. You just gave us some examples of other players during his era, and they were all going to the Pro Bowls together. Like, where does he stack up total yardage? I'm just use yardage for me, not necessarily catches, because that's easy to follow. With like Shannon Sharp or Gonzalez Gates or any of those guys.
Sure, he's number 25
in total, but where is he at compared to his compadres who are the same position
in his
era?
Right, Shannon Sharp finished with 9,961 yards receiving.
9,100?
9,900.
Oh, 99.
Yeah.
You know, he's like, gosh, if y'all throw me one more pass, give me over 10K. What are we doing?
Antonio Gates, 11,800. Jason Witten, 13,000. Tony Gonzalez, 15,127.
Yeah. I only think he only got a couple on me. Just kidding.
How about the guy he was drafted with, Vernon Davis? Because he was behind him in San Fran. Yeah. And he finished his career with 7,562 yards receiving. And so, you know, here's Delanie with
compared to
50. He's at almost 5,600 with both teams in his full career.
And did almost all of his damage.
So Delanie's
in his seasons here, his 7 seasons
he's
here.
5684.
5684
total.
Here.
But yeah, like Kellen Winslow Sr., 6,700. You know, Heath Miller had a great career in Pittsburgh, 6,500. You know, I mean, he's right there with a lot of really, really good Hall of Famers in a lot of these cases.
No doubt about it.
But he was so instrumental in what this team is right now. Tough, old school,
Titan
physical, yeah, and sneaky fast. Remember that first time he broke a tackle and got open? You're like, wait a minute, this guy's nearly 6'2", and he's, 240 or whatever it is, rocked up like he is, and he hits another gear, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah, I was stunned when he got over the field,
Moses.
too, when I saw that, him take off. Like, whoa, I didn't know he was fast like that.
Sneaky.
Yeah, he was running away from DBs. That's when you said, uh-oh.
And, man, he wasn't afraid of a 9-foot-tall grizzly bear. He did not care. Just happy that he wanted to come back and retire as a Titan. He felt like his best years were here, and clearly the numbers show it.
Yes.
Sure.
I was sitting here thinking about all these moments you're saying, and I remember that game. Oh, gosh, I remember that game. If somebody asked me, like, what do you remember most? I remember standing in his locker, and this may have been, like, after a game where he'd had a particularly good game, so it may have been one of those, not the one in New Orleans. I wouldn't have been there in the locker room, but a home game, and he said, you know what? They know it's coming, and they still can't stop me.
Nope. Had no answer.
And it didn't even sound cocky coming from him because literally every week they knew it was coming, and they couldn't stop it.
He was a mismatched nightmare.
He was.
Well, before we go to break, that's why I love him so much. And it's 2 words. He kept it real. That's it. There was no shucking and ducking and jiving, ever talking. He kept it real.
No, he 100% did. You knew exactly where you stood with him. He kept it 100. And he and I would have conversations about his love of automobiles. He loved cars and would talk about – I did a feature on him one time on Titans Countdown talking about he would go to the junkyard with his uncle and they would go to a pull-apart place, and that's how he would learn how to fix his own cars. He said, we didn't have any money. We didn't do anything. He said, now to be able to buy a Corvette or do whatever. I'm anxious to ask him this afternoon if he ever got his dream car. He wanted a 63 or a 64 Lincoln Continental convertible with a recessed hardtop and the suicide rear doors, the one just like JFK was assassinated in.
Oh.
It's one of the greatest.
It's the entourage car, right?
It's one of the what I would call a land yacht. I mean, you couldn't park it in the studio, and this is a palatial studio. But I'm interested to see if he ever got a hold of one of those and was able to put it in his collection, because I'm like, that's my dream car. I would love to have that car.
I hope he rolls up to the press conference today in that car.
I want to. Then I will say, hey, for the first time in your career, and now that it's done, let's take a picture in front of your car, because I want to do that. I would love
a ride
to do that.
in that car.
Well, yeah, I'd like to do that too. But yeah, he's a stud, man, big time.
All right, so is Rhett Bryant. Hey, man, thank you. We knew you would have the
appreciate it.
perfect stuff and some great memories, so thank you for sharing that.
Glad
with
to
us.
do it.
And Delanie, 2:30 today, he will officially retire as a Tennessee Titan. At that time, we'll have Coach Mack on, because he's going to join us at his normal time in the next hour. That's coming up in about 20 minutes. Don't go anywhere. On the other side, trade rumors. How about rumors of the Titans trading away a player? One that I would be very surprised about based on what I saw in the preseason, but I may not be so surprised anymore. We'll tell you about it next. Start your NFL Week 7 off right. Do it right with a no-sweat same-game parlay from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Look, it doesn't matter if you're new to FanDuel. If you've already got an account, you're going to get free bets back if your Thursday night same-game parlay doesn't hit. A little excitement on your Thursday night. NFL same-game parlays, the perfect way to combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payday. I like Taysom Hill to score a TD. I like Chris Olave to score a TD. I like whatever Kyler Murray's rushing over is, because he runs it a lot. You can build your own parlay, or you can choose one of the popular same-game parlays pre-built for you in FanDuel's top-rated sportsbook app. However you want to play, you can bet the NFL on Thursday night with a no-sweat same-game parlay. You just sign up with the promo code Mickey if you don't have an account, and if you do, you're all set. Just sign in. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. You do have to be 21 or older, present in Tennessee, 3 legs minimum, $1 bet required, refund issued as non-withdrawable free bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Max free bet is $5. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789. Blaine and Mickey 104.5 The Zone. Happy Delanie Walker Day. Titans number 82 announcing his retirement officially in about 30 minutes. Coach Mack's going to join us in about 20 minutes. We'll ask Coach Mack about his favorite Delanie Walker memories. I'm sure he has some. Delanie Walker, a 7-year Tennessee Titan. 7 years before that with the 49ers, but made most of his statistical marks in his fantastic career here, wearing the two-tone blue, rocking that number 82, was a fantastic player. The Titans picked him up via free agency. So the trade deadline is November 1st. Today is, Tuesday, October 18th, if I'm scoring right here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so 12, 13 days away before the trade deadline. Once upon a time, the NFL went through this period where hardly anybody ever got traded for anybody. And now now people get traded all the time.
I love it because I didn't think that would ever happen.
I didn't think so either. But
Man,
here we go.
To be that was one thing I wanted to be about, like baseball and hockey and basketball. They have trades in the middle of the season to kind of propel their team to try to get that push into the playoffs. NFL couldn't figure out all that. So now, at least now, it's more trades going on, even if they're at a smaller scale. At least you see some movement. At least they think, even if it's a depth piece to help their team out. So I'm interested to see, man. Who do you think? The Titans got anybody they can trade or trade for? Well, give me somebody. I don't know how that stuff works.
So I you know me, I get obsessed with things. So I start rabbit holing down every article that I can find. Well, there's 2 different articles on ESPN. One came out a few days ago. One came out, the best I could tell, either late last night or early this morning. This is the thing I was talking about when we went to commercial. Jeremy Fowler is saying he does this whole, this team should trade this guy, and this team should trade this guy, and this team should trade for this person, and all this stuff. Then he gets into like 3 tight ends to watch. One of the tight ends, as a trade candidate.
Whoa. Who are the other 2 tight ends? Do you remember?
I'd have to open.
Okay, well, tell us who the Titans guy is.
Austin Hooper.
Oh, well, yeah, that would make sense.
Austin Hooper is a trade candidate, and he talks about how most of his salary was paid via signing bonus. So whoever trades for him now wouldn't have to pay him that much. He also mentions this.
Just his base salary then.
Yes. Just what's left of his base salary.
Oh.
He has 11 targets in 5 games.
How many yards?
55. He's averaging 11 yards per game. 6 catches, 55 yards on 11 targets. I thought he might have gotten 11 targets in a game or over the span of any 2 games.
At least 2 games, yeah.
He has it in 5. He has been, it's Halloween. He's been like Casper the Friendly Ghost. He has just disappeared for long stretches.
I wonder if Swaim, has kind of gotten better and more than just a blocking tight end. Because when I'm watching film and tape, I feel like he's kind of doing both roles and doing a solid job at it. Actually, there's sometimes I thought he should have done a better job blocking. That's supposed to be his niche in blocking. But
that's what we were told over and over.
Yeah, but I'm watching film. He's kind of missed a couple blocks there, but he, definitely not. He's a consistent blocker and done better at pass catching than I ever thought he would at this point in time early in the season. So maybe he's kind of gotten better and it's kind of fulfilling that role of Hooper too at the same time. And maybe there's no need for him or he's expendable. They like him, but they just don't love him at this point in time. So then they got Chig's development and then Radar. Right? Is that his name?
Raider.
Yeah. He's on special team. He's a demon.
I wonder if
I've never seen a tight end go down there and make tackles like that. I think you told me he had a linebacker's part in his background or something. Man, he's going down there. One game, he had 3 tackles against the Commanders. I was like, man, what the heck?
In college, he went in as like a defensive end.
Defensive end. Tight ends run down there making tackles like that. They just not in there in this end. It's just, it happened to sometime, but it's stand out. And this guy's like a utility guy, who's bounced around. So, man, I think that's made him a little more expendable.
The other 2 were Mike Gesicki of the Dolphins.
Oh.
And Albert O., the former Missouri tight end.
Oh, go ahead and give it a shot, Mickey. Go ahead. Say that last name.
No, I couldn't even pronounce it when he was at Missouri.
There you go. That was good, man.
Okawabenham. Dawn Davenport has told me 15 times how to say this guy's name because she did all these Missouri games.
People on TV were pronouncing it wrong.
Albert Okawabenham. I think that's right, isn't it?
It sounds good to me, man.
You're cheering for me like I was saying it right.
It looked good. If we're doing speak and spelled, I think that'd be exactly how they put it out.
Okawabenham. I think that's right.
What team is he on?
He's on the Broncos, and they brought up the guy that I loved in the draft was Greg Dulcich from UCLA.
He had a great first game back last
flowing
night.
looks.
Yeah, the number 86 guy. Yeah,
He is a
guy. I'm watching
big
him.
old husky
Yeah,
rascal.
he has some nice moves in the open field too.
Oh, I like him. I liked him a lot. I mean, I like Chig in the draft too, but
Even the Dolphins
Greg
guy,
Dulcich.
but he's more of a receiver. That's it.
remember he
He's
was
thin.
arguing like franchise me as a receiver, not as a tight end because I don't even play tight
Yeah,
end.
but they franchised him at tight end, and but his number is high though for a trade. I think he what 10 million or something like that.
He
remember the
has
franchise number.
15 catches through 6 games.
You knew this was going to happen. Why would we know that this was going to happen to him? Because they acquired Tyreek and then Waddle. His numbers are going to go down. His targets are going to go down. It was just no way they can facilitate to everybody. And he was going to be it.
1 year, $10.9 million. So he's got a lot of money left, Gesicki, on this year's deal. So whoever eats that deal is eating a lot of that deal.
Wow.
And it's going to be prorated, too, as the season goes on. So I guess it goes halfway through the season. What's the trade deadline? The 27th, 28th, something like that?
It's the 1st of November.
So you'd probably be looking at about $5 million because none of it's going to get translated to a signing bonus through the trade. So about $5 million for him. But the only problem is he doesn't really block that well. And what's
he's
the problem?
not there to block.
And
no.
what's the problem with Hooper? Hooper also
right.
can't block that well.
Right.
So why would we
Makes
trade
no
for this
sense.
guy who
Makes no sense.
also can't block?
Well, here's the other story on ESPN. This is the one I found probably 4 or 5 days ago. It was Bill Barnwell. And he's, how do I say this about Barnwell? Bill Barnwell is like the great what-if guy. Like, what if this team traded that guy? What if this team fired this? He's a great what-if guy. A lot of his stuff is just based on, like, these are just things I thought of, and I'm going to write them all down.
No, I like it, though.
He's fascinating with the scenarios he comes up with. But one of them was the Titans trade a 5th-round pick for Texans edge Jerry Hughes. Hughes is 34, but he's got 4 sacks on the season. And you were like, hey, man, I really like him as a player. I think he fits. But do you think the Texans would trade him to the Titans?
Yeah, within the division. Even at this point, I just don't ever see him doing that. The Titans would have to overpay. When I say that, I'm talking about have to give a higher pick than if it. I mean, I don't see it. I like him as a player, though, especially even at this age because he fits our scheme and system. He can rush, he can drop, he can do a lot of different things. I don't know if you've ever achieved where he went in the draft, but he's still a solid player and fit. He would fit. I don't know. You never know though. That just hadn't happened a lot. Very rare, but I'm never going to say never. But man, I'll be cool with it. But I don't know about them Texans doing that.
No team acquires more former Texans than the Titans. Holy cow. Coaches, players.
Yeah,
They lined them up.
But none of them were traded for, Mickey.
Yeah, that's true.
None of them were traded for.
You mentioned Kevin Rader. He had 3 special teams tackles versus Washington. So a lot of Titans fans are like, okay, I've never heard of this guy, but look at him. He's just down there crushing people. Mark Mariani, noted special teams player for the Titans. He set him for you on Friday, and we were walking out in the parking lot, and he goes, man, I meant to give a shout-out to Kevin Rader. Just how well he's playing. I said, oh, I know he had 3 tackles. And Mark said, you saw the 3 tackles. He said there were 2 other plays where he drove somebody right into the tackle. He said he had 3 and influenced 2 more. So he was really part of 5, even without getting the stats.
I said I saw him a lot out there messing crap. I don't see tight ends doing stuff like that. I'm trying to think of a tight end that was a great special team, like going out making tackles. Oh, I can't recall any that I played with.
I wonder.
John Henry Mills, then nobody knows him. Yeah, that was ours.
You tell me about him all the time.
He
Isn't he
was
the
a
Wake
special
Forest
teams
guy?
demon.
He
I'm
looked like a great god, right?
He went to
You're
Wake
saying-
Forest.
Yeah.
Man, he was built like Delanie Walker, just not as tall. I was like, this dude is built like a brick house. He made the Pro Bowl. He was down there wrecking shop. I mean, dude, he was built like no other. He's a guy that's like built. He was rocked up. I was like, I am not running to that guy on no special team.
But all his success came on special teams, right? Not as a tight end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They even tried to move him to like linebacker or something. Because it just sounded very rare. Did you see a tight end going out there being that aggressive? Yeah. And so that's when the legend Frank Wycheck was created. Because they moved him and then he became the dude. Frank Wycheck. So you want to learn a little history lesson here. Yeah.
Frank Wycheck, who they acquired from the Washington Redskins. A lot of people don't know he was, unless they weren't the Command Skins then. I can say Redskins because they were the Redskins at that point.
Because they changed system and changed coaches. So Frank was in training camp and he was like, I don't fit this scheme and system.
Yeah.
They had him, up here being an H-back. Blocking being really a fullback. He was like, I'm not a lead blocker. What are you talking about?
All this is kind of interesting to me, and we're talking about Kevin Rader, and I know we got to take a break because Coach Mack said to join us, but Mike Vrabel has hinted several times, not hinted, as Coach Mack said, he's just said it. They're going to reward people with playing time who they liked what they've seen from them practice-wise or what they've seen from them. I wonder if Rader is one of those guys like, this guy's playing his butt off on special teams. He's going to get more snaps as a tight end. He's one of the names that stood out to me, Blaine. And then you see this article about Jeremy Fowler saying, here's an interesting name that might get traded, Austin Hooper. I wonder if they're like, well, shoot, if we can get everything we need from Rader and from, Jeff Swaim and Chig, if we can really get Chig going, why do we even need Austin Hooper? And that, again, after everything I saw in training camp, that's shocking to me. But that's where we are so far, 6 weeks into the season.
Wouldn't be surprised at all. In other positions, too, as well.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's who Vrabel is. I'm all about that production. I don't care how much money you're making, where you got drafted. Any of that matters. It's about production. At the end of the day, and then everybody sees it, then you better turn it up a notch then. Turn it up.
We got to turn it up because Coach Mack said to join us next. Titans have got a new stadium coming. Coach Mack helped build a new stadium in Arizona. We got Delanie Walker Day. He's retiring. Coach Mack knows Delanie Walker well. We got lots to get to with the Titans coach from Titans Radio. Coach Dave McGinnis joins us next.
Blaine Bishop here to tell you about Master Staff. And most people are hearing that unemployment is high and that jobs are not available. We're here to tell you that the market has been open for the past 2 years and we have an abundance of job openings that we are hiring for. And it's less than 100 days until Christmas, and we have all shifts available. Various skill levels, different types of companies from direct placement to temp to hire and so on. So if you're looking for a change to get back to work after COVID, then we need you now. And one of the hottest needs we have currently is for packers in a climate-controlled environment, $16 to $17.50 per hour. Pay depends on shifts. And all you have to do is just contact us today to set up an interview. Weekly pay and overtime is available. So text us at 615-535-4131. That's 535-4131 with the word radio, and one of our hiring managers will get back with you immediately. And if you don't want to text, you could just call us at 615-716-8884. That's 716-8884. That's Master Staff.
Blaine and Mickey 104.5 The Zone. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Got a brand new studio for everybody who's watching online with Zone TV. You can see it all around us. Very, very cool. Having a good time being in here. Always have a good time talking to Coach Dave McGinnis, who joins us now. Coach Mack for his weekly visit. Coach Mack, how in the world are you doing on Delanie Walker Day?
Yeah, happy Delanie Walker Day. I'm doing good, guys. I got a lot of memories of Delanie Walker even before he came here because I was at the Rams. We played him twice a year out there at San Francisco. He paired with Vernon Davis, and when they ran 12 personnel, which is 2 tights, 2 wides in the back, it was a problem to defense, I promise you. And so, when I agreed to come here and start doing the radio after I was done with the Rams, I was really happy to see him here because he's quite a player. He's one of those guys that I termed he was a legitimate dude.
It's interesting, Coach Mack. Rhett Bryan, of course, Mr. Rhett Bryan, he knows all the numbers. He came in, and we were talking about literally how long he'd been in the league before he came here, and then his career really took off. And Rhett said, to put it in perspective, guys, he played 99 games in San Francisco before he came over here and put together he played 7 years. We'd battled with some injuries the last couple of years, but there was a 5-year stretch, Coach Mack, where he was as good or better than any tight end in the whole NFL.
Well, the thing was, too, here, when he first came here, let's be honest, the Titans were just coming out of a pretty deep hole they had been in for a while, and he was one of the only weapons they had. And as a defensive coach, you knew what was coming, but he just kept making catches. And he was faster than people thought he was. Again, as I said, I coached against him for, a lot of years there at San Francisco when I was with the Rams. That dude could do it. As I said, he's a legitimate player that I'm just very happy he chose to retire a Titan because he meant a lot to the Titans when he came here. He's kind of like what happened in the iteration, when we hit another salary cap slump. And then we brought in Kevin Mawai and Chris Hope and David Thornton to go along with Keith Bullock and start to build it back up. He started to build this thing back up with his presence, not only as a player, but also, what he meant to the community and in the locker room, too.
Sure did. He did all those things. Coach Mack on with us this same time each and every week, brought to you by Farm Bureau Health Plans. Better rates, better coverage, better service. That's why Tennesseans have been relying on Farm Bureau Health Plans for their health coverage for 75 years. We rely on Coach Mack every week for the Mack Attack right here on Blaine and Mickey.
Well, Coach, I was watching college football. I saw your alma mater there, TCU. Did you watch a little bit of that game?
Only every second of it.
Well, I was just curious. Nothing about the game but the jerseys. And Mickey has me looking at everybody's jerseys now, so I was looking at what your thoughts were on their jerseys in that game.
Well, I like it. And everybody will ask me, first of all I've got to say is fear the frog. Fear the frog. That's all I have to say. The other thing is people have asked me a lot, now because, of course, they're playing really good. Mack, what is the red in the jerseys? They're a purple and white team. Well, the red is the Texas horned frog or the horned lizard. Their defense when they're attacked is they squirt blood out of their eyes, blind their attackers. That's the red.
Oh, man, that must have been the red when Ball State went up there in 92 and beat them. That they still crying from that time.
They didn't have any blood in their eyes.
I know, right, because Danny Thomas wasn't there, by the way. I'm sure since you were a little free, did you catch any of the UT game or no?
I caught all of it. I was out in L.A. I went out to L.A. Friday, to talk to some people that want to do a book. And then also I was out there to do that national game, the Rams and the Carolina Panthers. So I was in L.A. all week.
That go well?
And it's great. And I absolutely watched the Vols. I was so happy. I was staying at a person's house out there in Simi Valley, and he had a lot of people over, and I said, look, I need to watch this Vols game and be able to switch back and forth with that and the Frogs, so I don't want anybody bothering me. He said, well, I've got
he said, go to the bedroom, man. Yeah. Go to the bedroom, man.
No. It wasn't the bedroom. He says, I got a guest house out back that has a movie theater in it. You want to be there? I said, yes.
Oh, that must be nice, man. So, hey, I have to ask you this because I really don't know. I think I know the answer, but granted, the offense is phenomenal. But has someone ever run that style of offense, and could it even work in the National Football League?
The Vols?
Yeah, that's
the issue with that is the hash marks are different.
Yeah.
You see now with the hash marks, the way they can do most of the time when you really start to study. I mean, I study them. I'm doing my studies right now for Coast to Coast this week, and I've watched them all year. With that offense, one of the beauties of it is you can spread everything out from sideline to sideline. Because of the way the hash marks are, the splits are so wide, defenses have to make a choice, as far as numbers count in the box. And then the other thing that can happen with those types of splits, if you start stack releasing people with those kind of splits and you're playing man-to-man and one of those safeties is back off there in a top hat look to take one of those stack players, they can get people matched up on those safeties really quick and really wide. That's how Hyatt is killing. That's how he killed Alabama. Stack releases, in man defense and releasing on the safety with all of that ground because of the hash marks, that's a big difference.
No doubt about it. We on with Coach Mack giving us the Mack attack. And now we have the Colts coming up here next. And I guess, we played them just a couple of weeks ago. How would you approach it when you were a head coach if you played a team that quickly in the rematch going into game 2 after beating them in game 1?
Yeah, you've done it before on the sandwich games. The first thing you do is that whatever you've done to hurt them, they're going to have a counterpunch to that. Yep. So you have to be able to have a counterpunch to the counterpunch, to begin with. And the next thing is I just got through doing their last game. I got through with my second look at it, putting it down. They were a different offense against Jacksonville. They were getting the ball out of the hands.
They did look better.
Really quick. I mean, spinning it. And so he had 359 yards and was spinning it. And then what you have to be able to do, they've got some big combat catchers as receivers, but now the spot tackling and also the leverage tackling on the shallow crossers is going to be huge. The Pierce kid didn't have as many catches, but that dude is a problem, when you put him with Pittman and Campbell out there. So now they didn't have either one of their backs. They didn't need to have, their 1 and 2 backs, but they still tried to incorporate, Jackson in the passing game quite a bit. Depends on who they have of their backs available. But to me, their defense is healthier now than when the Titans played them last. And so that's going to be something to come into consideration too. But you guys know, and our listeners know, anytime, especially the Titans and the Colts that are playing for supremacy in the AFC South, regardless of what people come out with scheme-wise, it's got to be a physical game, and it's going to be.
There you have it. Coach Mack giving us the Mack attack.
Coach, you mentioned them getting the ball out quicker. Matt Ryan threw the ball 58 times, didn't get sacked, and he'd been sacked and knocked around by everybody all year long. No sacks and 58 dropbacks. They also made a change on the offensive line. They took out the rookie left tackle and put in the Undertaker, Dennis Kelly.
What?
Well, because the tackle was having problems. But look, really, guys, the offensive line didn't have a whole lot to do with no sacks this game. The ball was coming out so fast.
Right.
All right, and the way they were calling it, I mean, that's the one way that now what you have to be able to do. That's why the score was as low as it was. Now, but some missed tackles with something like that, and then they got the winning touchdown in a man-to-man that he threw up backing up. That he was, there in the fourth quarter, and he was in big trouble, but he threw that up, and the corner fell down, and Pierce makes the catch and goes in for the winning score. But the thing that you have to know that's important with this type of thing is if they're going to continue to deploy that offensive strategy, which I believe they will, because as you said, Matt Ryan was getting crushed back there when they were running extended routes and doing it, holding onto the football. We're going to have to spot tackle, and the thing that you're going to have to be able to do is, again, just like this defensive front has been doing a great job of, you're going to have to do some match hand stuff, because when it comes out quick, unless it's coming out sideways, you've got a chance for low trajectories when it's coming out quick. So all of that's going to be in play, guys, but spot tackling is going to be really important.
Coach, you've been part of getting a stadium built and a referendum passed and all that. That's the stuff I guess we're about to go through here. What's going to be like the next few days and weeks and months and even years while all this process goes down? I ask because I know you did this in Arizona.
Well, I did it with St. Louis and L.A. too.
Yeah, that's true. Yes,
it's going to be. This is going. It's a process, but they've taken a big step in this process. But the first thing you have to be able to do is reconcile, with the community you're in as to how you're going to approach it. They've done a marvelous job of that, but it's a process. It's going. There's still 3 readings, I believe, that are going through Metro Council, and it'll be a systematic. It's a step by step. It takes patience, and it also takes some give and take, on both sides as this goes on. As I said, I've been involved in 2 of these, from start to finish. And so, one of them entailed moving a franchise. Now, there in Arizona, it entailed, now the thing that the Titans have over those other 2 places where I was when it was going, the Titans are a winning franchise, and they're a stabilized organization. You're talking about the Rams thing, you're getting ready to uproot and pull out of St. Louis and then go into, that's a completely different look. And the Cardinals were trying to fight, years of a real acrimonious, just relationship with the Valley out there in Arizona. They'd already had 2 referendums fail. So it's different like that here, but the processes that you go through are similar, but it's a patient process that you have to have on both sides.
Coach Dave McGinnis giving us the Mack attack here on Blaine and Mickey.
Was that a fun process, Coach, as a coach, and how much input did you have as being, assistant and head coach doing both processes?
When I was the head coach, I had a lot. I went to every meeting. The first thing they had to do is find the land out there. I met with there's a lot of Indian tribes out there in Arizona. I met with a lot of Indian councils. To propose things. And yes, I made a lot of speeches. I made a lot of speeches and stand up presentations. And then Jake Plummer and I and Rob Moore, the story. The Saturday before we beat the Redskins at the time on Sunday, when Stephen Davis fumbled at the goal line and Aeneas Williams took it back 104, and we had no business winning, but we won on Sunday before the vote on Tuesday. But the Saturday, Jake and I and Rob Moore went door to door soliciting votes with the Fox News camera. That's how tight it was.
Wow. Anything additionally you wish you would have added, like let's just say the LA deal, like to the new facility? What are some of the things you felt like after the fact, always something you felt like you missed, or things that most people forget even though you had it in the new facility?
No, Jeff Fisher and I, we were privy to a lot. That group out of Dallas did it, the architectural firm that did Minnesota and also did Jerry's place. And so, we were consulted with a lot of things with the drawings as far as, where the coaches' boxes were going to be, what the ingress egress was going to be, how we wanted the locker room laid out. We had input on all of that. Now, some of it, that's a massive place. I just got back from out there again. That's a massive place, and it's a wonderful facility. And some of the scope and the scale that they were talking about out there, I was like, whoa. And, it was more or less like, we would like to have this and this and this. And they said, okay, we can do that. We can do that. We can do that. Now, I've been out there several times, and it's a place that's going to, and then when it really starts getting built up, it's going to generate a lot for that Inglewood area. It really is. So you asked me that question. I think most of the things that we had input on that they incorporated, I wasn't there for the finish of it, but I haven't seen anything lacking in the times I've been out there, which is several.
Okay. Well, back to the football field, Coach, and I'm just saying, it seems like, and I'm sure the NFL loves it, is that it seems like there's parity more than has ever been. What do you attribute the parity in the league in the NFL today? Why do you think everything's just so close to the vest? A lot of the, people's records are somewhat the same, or 2-2. They're still in the hunt, which all the fan bases are still all engaged. So what do you attribute that, parity to?
Salary cap, free agency, and then injuries. That always makes a difference. But those 3 things are the biggest thing, because with your salary cap, it makes a difference as to who you can keep and who you can't. Free agency is a huge thing now in the National Football League, and even when it started, people are learning how to use it even more and more and more. And plus, just the money that's available. If teams have been bad teams and have money on their cap and have been able to draft in the top 5 of the draft for years, well, then they have money to go out and get proven players. All of it is cyclical, because the National Football League, even from its inception, when George Halas and the people in New York that own those teams, they could have kept all the TV money for themselves. But they said, the Hallases and the Maras said, no, what we're going to do is share this equally so that we will have a competitive league, so people won't get discouraged at the places where they don't have as much income. That started it all. But, the income sharing, and now what it's developed into, and then with the rules that have changed, especially with the salary cap and free agency, you used to could stockpile players. You can't do that anymore.
Well, to piggyback off of that, you said injuries. Do you think it was an overreaction on how all this quarterback stuff is going with sometimes some of these guys not even getting tackled hard? And when I'm mentioning this because they fined Tom Brady, and I was in a big debate on Tom Brady kicked the guy, and this was a couple of days ago before they even fined him. Or do you think it'll settle back down and it'll go back to normalcy like it was before? What do you think about that?
I agree with Mike Grable. We need consistency with it. When I did that national game, for Sports USA, Larry Kahn, who owns it, who does the play-by-play, he also has Gary Cavallari, 19-year vet in the booth, sitting right next to me with a screen himself and with the headset on. He's part of the broadcast, an official. And so every time we had something come up, we would go, I'd say Cav, we would go right to him, to interpret it. And he said the same thing. Right now, it's too nebulous as far as what they are calling. And Mike Vrabel is 100% true as to what he said with that reply all. We need some consistency so coaches know how to teach players. If players don't know what's expected of them from the officials, that's really hard. And that, every time we watch a game now and we're watching a quarterback go to the ground, everybody that is on the team on defense is holding their breath going, is that going to be roughing? And that's a huge penalty because that's 15 yards and an automatic first down that can negate a really good flip the game. So, yeah, I agree with what Mike Vrabel said. Consistency is what we need, and that's what has to happen.
We're on with Coach Mack giving us the Mack Attack. I think we have a phone call. Someone's calling in and want to ask you a question, Coach Mack.
Yes, sir. Got about a minute left. Let's get Mahogany in with a question for Coach Mack. Thanks for calling, Mahogany.
Hey, not a problem. Hey, Coach Mack, real quick, my wife is a Patriots fan, unfortunately. And
no, wait. That's okay.
That's okay.
No, hey, Mahogany, your wife's got a lot of Super Bowl trophies. She's in good shape.
That's true. So this was one of her first times actually listening to you on the radio when we were listening on Sunday when we were leaving a place that we were at, and she was laughing and everything. So you brought a smile to her face throughout the day, and of course I'm used to it, but it's still a good laugh. But I just wanted to know, how close were you to gouging your eyes out calling that Panthers-Rams game?
Thank you, Mahogany.
You know what? And first of all, tell your wife thank you very much. And, and look, I'm very fortunate to get a lot of great comments on doing, games here and then doing national games. The listeners are very good to me. But you asked me about gouging my eyes out. The only reason I didn't is I didn't have a pencil sharpener in the booth there. So if I'd had a pencil sharpener, I'd have been doing this. Interview right now with the CNI dog. I promise you. That was brutal. That was, the Rams are not very good, but at least they're somewhat good. The Carolina Panthers, about as bad a team as I've seen in a while in the National Football League.
Coach Mack, this segment has just flown by. We appreciate the time. Great stuff. And we'll be listening on Sunday as the Titans finish up this Colts series again early this season. They'll be done with both games against Indy. Thank you, Coach, for the time.
Yeah, Coach. And everybody said they heard you on the Panthers broadcast Sunday, too.
Congratulations to Delanie Walker. And let's get ready to rock and roll in Nissan this weekend. See you guys.
Amen.
Appreciate it, Coach.
Coach Mack, always great to have him on and have him check with us.
Yeah.
All right, when we come back, I sent Robert some sound. John Robinson talking about, I guess, it's audio of him talking about Delanie Walker, and I guess the first impression, I'm not sure, but all this audio is starting to drop because the press conference is on now. But let's hear from the Titans GM about, well, arguably the greatest Titans free agent acquisition in history that he had the good fortune of inheriting on this roster. We'll hear from the Titans GM on Delanie Walker Day. That's right, he's retiring as a Titan. We'll hear from John Robinson next.
Go to the vehicle repair shop. It's like going to the doctor for an operation. The typical first reaction is, how do I know that I really need what they say I need? Well, sometimes you really wonder if you're getting a repair recommendation or you're making someone else's mortgage payment. Blaine Bishop here to tell you that people are tired of getting bamboozled. And if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired of auto repair shops, come on over to Eurofix. Eurofix repairs everything European. So if you feel like you've been lied to or taken advantage of when it comes to auto repair, come and check out Eurofix. Eurofix will always tell you the difference between a recommendation and a must-do. Get a free 15-minute no-wrench inspection at every visit. No appointment necessary. Just come when you want to come. And Eurofix offers a free nationwide 3-year, 36-month warranty on all work. Plus a free rental-car with reservation on every repair so you're not stranded sitting around all freaking day. And all you have to do is just give them a call at 844-EUROFIX. That's right, 844-EUROFIX Monday through Friday, or you can just visit them online at myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com. But always tell them Blaine sent you.
Blaine and Mickey 104.5 The Zone. It is Delanie Walker Day. Happy Delanie Walker Day to everybody. He is retiring as a Tennessee Titan after a fantastic 14-year career, half in San Francisco, half here. Jimmy Wyatt among the media members who were there today. And here is the man of the hour, Delanie Walker, on his retirement.
Delanie is not there with us. Or is it John Robinson, who people must not forget?
Oh, we got him. Here's
Delanie Walker was a wide receiver in college.
Yes.
In words, I've been trying not to cry. I'm not the one to cry. And I'm always the guy to tell what's on my mind. So I'm going to sit here and tell y'all how I feel. And I want to start off by thanking the Adams family, the Titans organization, for giving me that opportunity to come here in 2013. When I was in San Francisco, I knew no one knew who I was when I came here, and they probably thought, why did we get this guy? You know, but the guys that were here, the coaches, the staff, they believed in me. They said that it's all up to you. You have the chance to be great. You just gotta take it and run with it. And I looked at that as an opportunity. I knew what I could do in this league. I just needed the opportunity to have that chance to show it. And the Titans gave me that opportunity. And that's why I'm here to retire, because I feel like all my best years in football started here in Tennessee. And I'm thankful to have the career that I have, the family around me, my agents, my publicists, my friends. They all supported me. You guys supported me. I know I could be crazy sometimes and say some wild stuff in the media, but I was just trying to be as real as I can be and let you know how I felt and where the team was going at that time. So I'm thankful. I'm thankful to be standing up here, retiring as a Titan. Everything that they said about me is, you know, it's touching. I'm sweating because I don't want to say it, but I'm thankful. I am so thankful to have this opportunity to retire as a Titan, and I just want to see the Titans go forward, win the Super Bowl, and be successful. That's all I care about. And being able to do this, hopefully this motivates them to get this dub, gets them coached, because we got things to do. And again, like I said, I'm just thankful to be here, and thank you guys.
It's a great Delanie Walker talking about his retirement. He was a guy you always got straight talk from him, without a doubt.
100.
He stopped at his locker. Like you said, it was unfiltered. He kept it 100 all the time. Funny story, though, real quick. We got about a minute from John Robinson. Really wanted to try to play this, too, because Delanie Walker went to Central Missouri. John Robinson was a scout when he was trying to learn more about this player, and he talks about just trying to find him and find where he was. It's a pretty funny story.
So, Delanie, it was fall of 2005, before iPhones and GPSs. I broke out the Rand McNally Atlas. I was in my 4th year as a scout with the Patriots, and I made my way to Warrensburg, Missouri, to see the Central Missouri Mules and a hybrid tight end receiver named Delanie Walker. And I happened to find a picture of Delanie in action. He was obviously the best athlete on the field, as evidenced by the guy chasing him. And the ball security has improved. But we're a little loose there with the ball. If you told me that 17 years later, I'd be standing here today, 1 as a general manager, and 2 talking about that Division II player who went on to have a remarkable NFL career, I'd probably called you crazy.
John Walker talking, or John Robinson talking about Delanie Walker. But obviously a celebration over there for Mr. Walker today, as it should be as he retires as a Tennessee Titan.
On the Delanie Walker Day. But one thing we all can say, excuse me, is a very humble guy. Here's what he said. Walker says, I will always refer to Frank Wycheck as the best tight end in Titans history they have ever had. I'll always be number 2.
Boy,
boom.
That's a great quote right there.
That's Delanie Walker.
12th Titan on Sunday as well. He and Dan Pastorini. So a little Titans flavor, a little Oilers flavor. All Blaine's ex-teammates are going to be there. It's alumni weekend. I get pumped like seeing Donald Mitchell and those guys. So it's going to be a fantastic week. Just got to find out a way to beat the Colts, which we will talk about tomorrow. We'll also have Jordan DeJani tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. But in the meantime.
In between time.
Peace. Tighten up. Delanie Walker Day.